beseech thee to behold with thy abundant favor us thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Let thy blessing descend upon us here in this Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in thy presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote thy honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests thou hast committed to our charge. All which we ask in the name and for the sake of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. House resume and debate continues, but before we continue the debate, just a short announcement there. I observe that some members on both sides have been using colors that are a little too bright in this honorable house. So for the next sitting, I will just want to guide members on both sides, because I saw it on both sides, that we need to look at more sober colors in this honorable house. Debate continues.
Mr. Speaker, I stand in support of this budget for 2020-2021 financial year, and there is no greater honor than to stand before you, Mr. Speaker, and to address this honorable house. And before I do, I want to really, I'm not sure whether there's anything that the senior minister myself can say beyond what has been said thus far by the younger folks in this house. I spoke to an elderly person in my constituency over the weekend, and she said to me, Tisha Boni was born in. I really did not understand what she meant by that. So I asked her what she meant. She said, oh, parent, madam natika bully ko di fe. And I think that same rendition can be used for all the other speakers. And I mean, we have to commend them. And the future of the Labour Party is absolutely bright, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I listened to the leader of the opposition. And that is why an older guy in Backstreet in Mahou said to me that he must kalpat pour voter pour Labour. Because really and truly,
you need to interpret.
He walked on his knees to vote for the Dominica Labour Party. Because the Workers' Party does not have a platform that speaks to the needs of the people of Dominica, Mr. Speaker. And that is why the member for Marigot, the leader of the opposition, can never become the prime minister in this country, Dominica, Mr. Speaker. Because we are just months after the last general election. Your ideas should have been fresh in your minds. So I was expecting to have heard a creative, innovative idea or program, but zero, nothing so. It reminds me of a popular song once by one of the popular bands in Dominica, Boyo bands from WCK. And I asked, I know he's listening, the member of the opposition, is that your best, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, he spent almost 2 hours addressing this honorable house. Not one new idea, one new plan. And 2 hours of his characteristic tongue lashing of people, Mr. Speaker. And he spent 40 minutes talking about the official residence of the Prime Minister. Can you imagine that, Mr. Speaker? I ask myself, Mr. Speaker, when is this apparent obsession which has seemingly reached the pathological stage, with the personality Roosevelt Scarrett going to end? When, Mr. Speaker, Dominican asked, and I ask respectfully in this honorable House, Mr. Speaker, it's like a compulsive disorder. Like the daily routine is driven by Roosevelt Scarrett, Mr. Speaker, and that is frightening. So, if they cannot open a fridge in the house, it's Scarrett's fault. If their names are not on their wife's will, it's Scarrett's fault. Si famille quitte yo, it's Scarrett's fault. Si yo passe bande, it's Scarrett's fault, Mr. Speaker.
You have to translate it. Both instances.
Si famille quitte yo, if the woman leave them.
Yes.
And for the last one, I want to use a revised definition. Forever soft. Forever soft. Is that okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I want to say that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the member for Marigot called my name twice, and I have to call his name back. I'm sorry about it. And he misrepresented the rental fee of the official residence of the Prime Minister. I'll get to that just now. Mr. Speaker, let me make it fundamentally clear to this honorable House that the Cabinet of the Commonwealth of Dominica stands strong and resolute in its decision to remove the Prime Minister and his family from the conference room of the State House. Plastaka Kule, the press leaking, one room for his children and himself, and it's unacceptable, pending the construction of an official residence for the occupier of the office of Prime Minister. Because, Mr. Speaker, they don't have respect for the personality, Mr. Speaker. And the Prime Minister of this country, soon to be knighted, I have a dream, by the Queen, as Sir Roosevelt Scarrett, has worked hard for this country, Mr. Speaker. And that's a fact. Mr. Speaker, he made reference to page 122, I think, in the current estimates, and falsely misrepresented the monthly rate for the official residence. And Mr. Speaker, the line items such as casual labor, etc., and office and furniture, these are characteristic features of the estimates before the Labour Party was in office. And I beg you, Mr. Speaker, for your permission to refer to estimate 1998-1999 on page 58, and you'll see the similarities. Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker. Roosevelt Scarrett was still going to university, maybe at the school teaching, college teaching, and it says, this guy's, Mr. Speaker, when my boy was small, my son, and I did something wrong in his view, he never used to say, imagine, he used to say, Daddy, you madding, man. Mr. Madding, you know them fellas there. Them fellas madding. It's continuous, not mad. And Mr. Speaker, page 58, Office of the Prime Minister, and it says, casual labor, $25,000. You can read it, I can give it to you after. And it goes on, and it says, furniture, tools, equipment, $151,000. And it goes on and it says, rental of property, $141,000, 1998 to 1999, Office of the Prime Minister. And it goes on, and it talks about maintenance, $594,000. I would assume it was the residence of the Prime Minister then. And then it has unclassified, $724,000. I can go back to 1999 and 2000. The rendition remains the same in terms of the line items, Mr. Speaker. And you see, this fellas, and a member for us enough, I'll get to him just now. And it goes, Office of the Prime Minister, the same thing, casual labor, $291,000. That is 1999 to 2000. And it's not, the Cabinet Secretariat is separate, and all the other departments are separate, but that by itself. And it continues. Mr. Speaker, rental of property, and it goes on, maintenance, $850,000. So these guys, man, they're mad. They're mad, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the leader of the opposition said to this honorable House that the budget is not for Dominicans. Rubbish. Imagine again, Mr. Speaker. How can you say that? And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, that no other country in the world in the past 4 years has taken the economic and social beating Dominica has taken, Mr. Speaker, in the past 4 years. I can say that boldly. We had Erica. Everybody said it was the worst. The worst weather phenomenon to hit us. A whole community wiped out. Then we had Maria, Mr. Speaker. The worst hurricane to hit any country in the world. And out of 25,000 households, only 78 was standing untouched. And the best and the most renowned experts in the world said Dominica at the minimum would take 20 years. We surprised them and did it in 2 years, Mr. Speaker. 2 years, it was done. And then we moved from 25,000 households to now 27,000 households because of the Dominican Labour Party. Can you imagine that? And by the end of this year, of this August, 901 apartments and houses hurricane-proof in one program will be constructed. If we just, in a very conservative manner, say to every family, 5, and that's very conservative. When you multiply 901 by 5, you get how much? 5,505. These are persons who are not going to be reliant on shelters for this hurricane season, Mr. Speaker. That is development, and it's said it's not for Dominican. So the persons in the list and La Plaine and Monjon, they are from Peru. He Martin again. This guy Martin, you know. He's not there this morning, Martin.
You cannot say this guy.
Okay.
So you need to address him by parliamentary representative.
The member for Marigot, the leader of the opposition, is Martin. Mr. Speaker. And that's a fact. Then come COVID. The worst public health phenomenon to hit the world. And Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I want to refer to some statistics there from the Ministry of Finance, and which says that even after Maria, 1 year thereafter, the country was doing well in terms of revenue generation in a positive manner. The tangent was like an incline. And I want to, with your permission, and if we were to take it, Mr. Speaker, let's go in January 2018 to April 2018, a 4-month period of time. $120 million generated by way of revenue inflows. And if we were to go, Mr. Speaker, to 2019 for the same period, corresponding period, $154 million in terms of inflows by way of revenue. But if we were to go, Mr. Speaker, from January 2020 to April 2020 for the same corresponding period, $108 million because of COVID. And that has not taken into consideration the total lockdown. So we have seen a $46 million drop in revenue inflows. But here, listen to that. And every month, this government, under the leadership of Roosevelt Scurry, has to get an average of $47 million to meet commitment and debt on salaries, and they are being paid on time, Mr. Speaker. Any other government would have used that period to cut back on salaries, raise taxes, send people home, or at the minimum, embark on a comprehensive attrition program, hereby new appointments will not be filled and new positions will not be filled. What we're going to do on the Roosevelt Security and Labor, we're going to appoint hundreds of new people in the public service, Mr. Speaker. What they're talking about? And when he says that the budget is not for Dominican, then we are proposing in this budget a tax pardon on penalty and interest, because the state is being owed, based on my last research, $259 million in taxes. And at a trying period in our development, we are saying that we're giving you a pardon on interest and penalty. This is responsible government, Mr. Speaker, and that's a people's budget, Mr. Speaker. So the people, the business people and persons who are being given the tax pardon, they're from Holland. I mean, this guy is mad. Leader of the opposition is mad, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, one Senator, Frederick Joseph, with me, Mr. Honorable House. One Senator, Frederick Joseph, with us on that side. We in the Labour Party, Mr. Speaker, we believe in the elderly. And we have programs that are geared to facilitate and to add value to the lives of the elderly. But donkey has no right in horse race. Because he stood behind me there and said, so long, Prime Minister Scarrett talking about the international airport thing and he's not coming. Madam Senator, be careful what you ask for. Because, Mr. Speaker, all of us know that one honorable Scarrett tell you the thing coming, it is coming, and watch out, it is coming. Look out fast. Back open, the thing coming. That's not joke, and with great speed to an intensity. He told us the river war in Point Michel was coming, and it did come. He told us the sea defense wall in Sufference caused that they were coming, and it did come. He told us the stadium was coming, and it did come again. He told us the West Coast Road, now the old Libna Highway was coming, and it come again, it did come. He told us the airport road, Dr. Liverpool Highway was coming, and it did come. He told us the Valley Road was coming, Dr. Mahak, and it did come. He told us, Mr. Speaker, he told us that the National Hospital was coming, and it did come. He told us again that the Marigold Hospital was going to come, and it did come. And now they're going to ball. They're going to ball now. Because they are mortally afraid of it. And he told us the international airport is going to come, and it will come. So make up your mind to ball. So what happened, Mr. Speaker? They want to kill the Prime Minister. They want to kill him. So this is a party that has demonstrated to the people of Dominica that it is serious. And let me just say, before I go to my Minister of Home Affairs, that the only way that the Workers' Party can form the government in the near future is only playing cricket, that Gary Sobers declared on his last test. Prime Minister Roosevelt Scarrett and that team has to declare. But I have put the Workers' Party and the Prime Minister on warning. Because the people of Dominica are saying, Labour cannot declare now, Mr. Speaker. And that is why the last time they went to the poll, they gave Prime Minister Labour 3 more additional seats, 18-3, Mr. Speaker. Because these guys cannot make a distinction between the personality of Roosevelt Scarrett, who was the Prime Minister, and politics. And that's the problem, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, enough for what I've said. I want to move, with your permission, to the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs, Mr. Speaker. And I want, at this point, Mr. Speaker, to highly commend the Permanent Secretary, the heads of departments, the staff down to the cleaners of all the departments within the Ministry of Home Affairs. And I want, in particular, to highly commend the fire officers, the police officers, and all those within the ministry who have been involved in the fight of COVID. Mr. Speaker, I start with the police. For this new financial year, we are simply waiting for the engineering element of the design for a new training school at Montrose. Already we have demolished the old building, and of course we'll be actually training new police recruits to include women, because I don't think we can build a modern police force by only training men alone. We have to include the women in that process, Mr. Speaker. I heard much was being said, Mr. Speaker, about crime, and fellows who leads the party that cannot show anywhere in the polls. Let me just say something, Mr. Speaker. For the year ending 2019, we had recorded 845 serious crimes. And that's 70 less than 2018, a drop of 8%, Mr. Speaker. I want to record that in this honorable House. Insofar as minor offenses are concerned, for the same period we had 3,501. And then we have, for 2018, 3,856, a drop of 10%, Mr. Speaker. This is the lowest the crime rate has been in Dominica in decades in our development as a people, Mr. Speaker. And I wanted to underscore that. We'll also see, Mr. Speaker, emphasis being placed on a new thrust in the police force to build community. And that's why we're going to continue. We got hampered because of COVID in our attempt to have a more comprehensive community policing program. And because we really need to see more police officers on the street, especially traffic police. Our traffic police officers are provided with cell phones, with specialized app. They can download the traffic ordinance right there on the street, Mr. Speaker. And we have to take control of the street. There are too many vehicles parking on the sidewalk in Roseau, and I think the police has to get this right, Mr. Speaker, going forward. And Mr. Speaker, the FIU. I said last year, and I want to say it again for emphasis, is one of the best, with the exception of maybe of St. Vincent, financial intelligence unit in the entire Caribbean, Mr. Speaker. And we have to be proud of that, because we have seen tremendous improvement in the way the officers investigate the matters. And we have $3 million plus in a special account that can be used and that can be put back into law enforcement endeavors, Mr. Speaker, because of the tremendous work the FIU department has been doing in Dominica, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, border improvement and upgrade. In this financial year, we'll be spending $13 million to do the following: to upgrade and improve our border management systems. And that is important for a number of reasons. One, to cultivate a watch list, so that persons of interest, before they reach to our borders, we can be told that they are coming to Dominica. And for the purpose of passenger information, as well as cargo, that in itself will be very important. And for secondary inspection, that will be important, because we'll be able to take people's fingerprint at our borders in Dominica, and that's important. Oh, no, the most important in our border security improvement is our migration from the machine-readable passport to our e-passport or biometric passport, and almost counterfeit-proof. And that, Mr. Speaker, in March of 2021, we'll be moving to a new biometric passports in Dominica. And Dominica will be the only country, except for the Bahamas, to have those improved passports in the Caribbean. And that is development, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our courts. And I want to start first with the registry, inclusive of the courts. civil, and criminal courts. Mr. Speaker, the government of Dominica has the legal obligation to provide proper accommodation for our courts. And I'm very much elated that provisions are being made in this year's estimate for the relocation of the registry, inclusive of the court, to the public training center building. So you see, $1 million, Mr. Speaker, is provided for. So we can have, and I'm very happy, because we can now house, we'll be able to house our master's court, our civil court, our criminal court. We have our computer for technology, and all those various components that are critical for the proper operation of the court will be housed. And I want to thank the Minister for Finance for making this money available to move our courts. Mr. Speaker, a couple years ago, we actually established a separate position, that of the Registrar of Titles. And that is proving to be very beneficial for us in Dominica and the citizens of this country, Mr. Speaker. I can say to this honorable House that we have no backlog, Mr. Speaker, in the issuing of titles in the Commonwealth of Dominica because of this important establishment of this position of Registrar for Titles. And I want to commend highly, Mr. Speaker, the Registrar of Titles. We also have seen the appointment of a young, energetic Registrar General, and I wish her well. And I want to take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, because the registry never closed down during the COVID in trying times. And I want to express, in the most profound manner, my admiration, Mr. Speaker, for the staff and members of the registry. I wanted to say that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Magistrate Court. Mr. Speaker, the application of the rule of law is critical for the advancement of any democratic state. And most of our criminal matters are disposed of by the Magistrate Court. Just to give you an insight, Mr. Speaker, last year, 2,595 cases were filed before the Magistrate Court, Mr. Speaker. And 2,509 of those were disposed of, and that is commendable. For the same period, $813,000 were raised by way of revenue for the Magistrate Court. In this new financial year, you will see the appointment of 2 new magistrates. And of course, I want to commend the Permanent Secretary. We have provided our staff, our magistrate, with brand new laptops in the ministry. And I want to say that is because we believe we have to facilitate our magistrate to be more efficient and competent going forward, Mr. Speaker. The prisons. I have the utmost admiration for the head and the staff members of the prisons. We had malaria, we had no significant outbreaks or breakouts, and then we have COVID. And the prison boss and his staff took up on their own to construct 10 new cells for the possibility of isolating new inmates. And I think that is commendable, and we have to put our hands together for them for that, at no cost to the state. I have given the prison head the mandate for the prison to be self-sufficient in most of the food. So they're doing their vegetables, they're doing the pork, and they're doing their bread. For matter of fact, I'm very happy to report that the prison will be providing the Dominican Infirmary with free bread for the inmates. And that's important, Mr. Speaker. We have seen a very exciting program meant at creating enterprise at the prisons. That can be done as a business in leather and woodcraft, where 28 inmates graduated. And I think, Mr. Speaker, that in itself, when a prisoner leaves the prison setting, there has to be a better person to contribute towards mainstream society. And it's important for us to place emphasis on reform and reform. The sewing program is going on, and the woodwork program is going on, and we have to continue doing that. We have a multi-purpose building being erected by the prison labor. And that is important because we want to ensure that, of course, our remands can be done within the setting of the prison, so we can actually cut down on judicial time to have inmates being transported to the Magistrate Court in Roseau. And that is commendable. It's been done by the prison with the prison labor. The fencing also is being done with prison labor. And we are going to ensure we have started the program of ensuring that you have proper surveillance with cameras at the prisons, and we have to have proper metal detectors at the prison. We'll be placing emphasis on that. So I want to really say thank you very much to the prison boss and his staff. Mr. Speaker, the Aegis Chambers continues to provide legal advice and to represent the state on matters before the court and matters that are in mediation. And in this new financial year, Mr. Speaker, we'll be adding 2 additional state attorneys, the wonderful white people within the Aegis Chambers, because we had one of the attorneys within the chambers had to leave to take up the position of registrar of companies, and the other officer, legal officer, is currently the registrar general. So we have to actually ensure that we provide new staffing for the Aegis Chambers. We're in the hurricane season, so we have to continue to place emphasis on mitigation and disaster management. And I want to commend the coordinator of the ODM office, because we have actually established a good working relationship with the local government department in ensuring that our hurricane shelters are properly maintained. And we had this year something we never had before. $200,000 was made available to the office of the ODM. And then we have spent so far $185,000 to repair a number of shelters and to provide sanitizers, masks, bearing in mind that if we were to move our people to hurricane shelters, we have to maintain the COVID protocol. So it's important for us to ensure that we have the masks, the sanitizers properly stocked at the office, at the stores at ODM, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I hope I did not miss anyone. The fire. I made mention in my general remarks the tremendous job the fire department have done. Notwithstanding our challenges during the COVID fight, and we're still fighting, 28 additional officers were trained and recruited within the fire department. And I mean, that is critical, because we're talking about at a time when things are tight. And then we have seen the completion of a refurbished fire station in Portsmouth, member for Portsmouth. Well done. It took so long, but it's finally completed. And of course, we're now almost seeing the completion in Roseau. We also have the design for a new police station in Grand Bay, and some of the appliances, most of the trucks at the main airport in Portsmouth is critical for us to remain compliant. So we are also going to procure a new truck to be stationed at the fire station at the airport in Medvino. And all these things we have been doing, Mr. Speaker, in trying times. And you heard the member for Marigot made reference to the fact that the budget is not for Dominican. Mr. Speaker, marijuana and as we seek to decriminalize the possession of marijuana. Mr. Speaker, if you go to our manifesto, you'll see a holistic and comprehensive approach, properly cataloged in our manifesto, that speaks to how do we get access to that industry, both in terms of for medicinal purpose and other purposes. And the Labour Party is a very, very, very serious party. But the reality is, Mr. Speaker, it is something that has to be done incrementally. Last year, at our presentation in this honorable House, the Prime Minister made his intention clear, and then we actually gave Dominicans a promise that we're going to decriminalize the possession of 28 grams of marijuana. Mr. Speaker, life is an evolutionary process, and no progressive individual can remain obstinate on a particular position for life. You have to emerge, you have to evolve, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, it is time. It is time for us to stop the stereotyping and victimizing of our young people whose only crime is smoking marijuana, Mr. Speaker, in this country, Mr. Speaker. And That is why we have taken the decision. I want to really place on record my appreciation for the draft persons within the Aegis chambers, members of parliament, of cabinet, and the leadership that they have shown thus far, the permanent secretary within the Ministry of National Security and Home Affairs, that we have finalized the draft amendment. Cabinet has done that. And we'll be taking this measure at the next sitting. So persons in possession of 20 grams or below will not be prosecuted anymore in this country because of the Dominican Labour Party. And we're going further with that. We're going further. Because we are saying further in this proposed amendment that will come before this Honorable House in the next sitting, that if you were convicted for 20 grams or below, that will not be able to be used against you anymore for getting a job in this country or elsewhere in the world, Mr. Speaker. And that is being progressive, Mr. Speaker. We're going further, and I'm happy that a good friend of mine is working in the House this morning. And we're saying that for your personal use, per household, one will be able to plant and to have free marijuana trees. Free. Not 30, but free. Now, Mr. Speaker, you'll appreciate there are a number of persons with more than one household, but its intention is for one household. But no law, when it's drafted, the intention is not fully appreciated. The preform substance and intention of any intended law is only tested and measured when it's been applied, Mr. Speaker. So the law will be applied, and we'll be actually examining the way it's unfold in a practical manifestation, and then we might come back to the House to actually do a further amendment. If we find that John Brown has 16 houses and they have 16 preachers in every house, that is not the intention of this intended measure, Mr. Speaker. And in terms of what dimension the tree might be, that is something that can be done by regulation in terms of how big the tree should be, how big the stem should be, how tall it should be. All those dynamics cannot be captured in a simple amendment, but it can be captured in subsidiary law by way of some regulation, Mr. Speaker. I think this is a very progressive first step, Mr. Speaker. And Labour Party, when it says something, it means it. And when the Prime Minister says something is coming, it is coming, Mr. Speaker. And I think that's a very important measure. I wanted to say that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm watching my time. I go to the most important constituency in this country. And I love all my colleagues. I love the member for Portsmouth. I love the member for Roseau. I love all my members there.
25 more minutes.
Yeah, I know, that's cool. Thank you for reminding me, Mr. Speaker. But the Mao constituency is simply the best. Before, and you heard the upcoming minister, Castle Laville, Honorable Minister Senator Laville, we heard when he spoke. The future is bright for the people of Mao and the Mao constituency. Mr. Speaker, I want to start with housing. And the Prime Minister is not there, but the Minister for Housing is there. And I want to say, Minister for Housing, Cabinet colleagues, thank you very much. Because by the end of this month, over 100 persons will be moving to the new apartments in Jimmy, Mr. Speaker. I went there with my team. Wonderful shower, wonderful two washroom, and the place looked lovely, and a wonderful view. The best view in the Dominica can be found in the Jimmy area. So I said close to 100 because, Mr. Speaker, on average, we have about 5 persons per family. So when you multiply 5 by 30, we have 100 and something persons moving in to the new apartments in Mahou. But we are not done yet. We will be moving in that same month to a brand new mini hospital in Mahou. Thank you, Minister for Health. Our own pharmacy, our own doctors, living quarters for our nurses, our beds to overnight. I want to spend a night there. This is so beautiful. And the list continues, Mr. Speaker. And because most of the persons who are who have underlying health conditions, are people who are the elderly persons, the hill will be placing a tremendous, strain on them. So we're going to cut a road from Back Street into the new facility. We have started, we have begun. I'm speaking with the owner of the land, and she's saying, I'm from Mao, Parep, that's my government, I'm willing to help. So this place is going to be beautiful. And thank you very much to the Labour Party administration for seeing it right to provide, in one of the biggest communities, a proper health center for the people of the Bao constituency. I'm still on housing. Masak, watch out. These are people who have been supporting Labour for a long period of time now. For a matter of fact, my father was born in Masak. The difficulty we had in Masak, or we have in Masak, we do not have crown land or state land. We went all the way up under Live Lacroix. That land is not suitable to build housing for people, dwelling houses for people. We have now found a nice site, and the owner is willing to sell. And we shall be putting, listen well, the people of Masak, we shall be putting 40 hurricane-proof, wonderful houses for you, the people of Masak, because of the Dominica Labour Party. I heard the member for Rosa Central very eloquently spoke about the housing outlets. But this will be the most remarkable housing development in Dominica because it's ideally situated and located overlooking the airport and the sea. It's going to be very beautiful, Mr. Speaker. And 2 weeks ago, the Prime Minister took from his busy schedule time to come with us at Kennefield East. The Minister for Housing was not able to make it. Beautiful, beautiful land. Well, this is the most spectacular view in the whole country. Okay, Kennefield East. And I want to say to you, the people of Kennefield, 70 new houses will be built for you, the people of Kennefield, in Kennefield East, and persons who are in need of housing. Campbell people have been suffering for a long time. For matter of fact, when Erica struck, we can recall Campbell, 37, Good Hope were the areas that needed immediate relocation. But of course, 37 was more critical, and places like Good Hope. But starting next year, we are going to start with the relocation of the people of Campbell to safer ground in Wana Heights, Mr. Speaker. Again, thank you to the Dominica Labour Party. And we shall do that in a very structured and incremental fashion. It's a big community, and you cannot move everybody at once. So what we shall be doing, we'll be moving the first 25 critical families first, and the people appreciate that. So I'm looking forward for the people of Campbell, because they're hardworking people, Mr. Speaker. Roads, the biggest constituency geographically and second in population to Rosa North. We can never stop fixing roads in our constituency. But we have done well so far, but there's much more work to be done. Now we know the people of Diaspora. There's a small section before you reach Sukofi. And the person who sells the best black pudding in Dominica, no other place in Dominica can sell black pudding like Sukofi. And Diaspora. That is provided to the Minister for Public Works. And in this new financial year, we have identified the contractor, Jason Campbell. That road will be renovated and repaired for the people of Diaspora, Mr. Speaker. We spent over $2 million already to improve the roads in Diaspora. When I became the power rep, certain parts in Diaspora was mud. You know that? It was done under the Coconut Rehab Program. But Labour, with your power rep, we have seen tremendous work in terms of road improvement in the constituency, in that part of the constituency. I'm also looking forward, because I think the Campbell to Diaspora Road, if we're talking about mitigation and risk management, will provide an excellent escape route in the event if Red Gully was to be blocked. And this road doesn't take into Campbell, but it takes you on the outskirts closer to Mao. And you can get from Despot into the outskirts of Mao within 2 minutes, Mr. Speaker. That is something we must do. We have the estimate for that also. And one of the most exciting roadworks, I say exciting, because it's a very challenging road network. That is from Jimmy going back into Salton in one road. And Mr. Speaker, this entire road network will be redone. Improvement to the corner, the foundation has issues, it will be redone, and it's going to be a wonderful road network. It's going to be the best in the island, Mr. Speaker. Everything in Mao is the best. Mao constituency, Mr. Speaker. Now, the Minister for Public Works made reference to the lower part of Lower Belfast in terms of to reorient the road. But I believe the way forward for Mao and Massac and for Dominica is to have a proper bypass. That has to be done, and that must be done in both Mao and Massac if we're talking about development. We will be spending over $700,000 in the first instance to get the road a little straighter and proper carriageway so that vehicles can traverse properly, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the fishing industry. My member of parliament, I live in Roseau South, my wife is from Roseau South. And I have 2 boats in my house and they went early to work. Well, she's my member of parliament. So, the member for Portsmouth, my good friend, spoke about fish. But we have the most fish in Dominica in my constituency, Mr. Speaker. There's no surprise. You go to Massac Fish, we have provided fishing engines for fishermen in Massac, in Mao, in Taro, just name it. And you can see it. Last week, you're talking about fish, I was sitting by the bay, and some fish just jumped on my head, but I sit by the bay. There's some fish in the place, Mr. Speaker. Talk about fish, because nothing. So, Mr. Speaker, the jetty needs to be repaired. The Prime Minister has given the go-ahead for the repairs. We are simply awaiting the estimates for the repairs of the Mao jetty. And we'll be getting a nice container so that it's a refrigerator, Mr. Speaker. We have already identified the location for that container so we can store all the fish Dominica is in Mao, Mr. Speaker. There's no other place in Dominica with fish like Mao and Massac, Mr. Fisher. All you have to do, Mr. Member from Portsmouth, is to come. Mr. Speaker, you can come too. On a Saturday night and to sit down by the bayside and fish just jumping or jumping and jumping out. Fish, Mr. Speaker. That's a fact. Mr. Speaker, education. The Minister for Education, wonderful lady, I've already spoken to the Prime Minister. I do not want that school in Mao anymore. The school not good, I don't want it. This school cannot fix, Mr. Speaker. The Pasha, you cannot fix it. I want a brand new modern school for the people of Mao, the teachers and the students, Mr. Speaker, once and for all. I've already visualized the design in my head, a nice L shape, Mr. Speaker. We're going to remove the basketball court from where it is and put it to the southern side of the building, and we're going to have a nice L-shaped 3-story building, proper offices for the principal, the teachers, proper accommodation for school feeding program, one for technology, etc., and it has to be the best. And if we are talking about the most formative years of a child's education, we have to attach the early childhood component to that school, and it shall be the most modern school in Dominica. It shall be Mao, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. I want at this time to express my gratitude to the teachers, the principal, the teachers, the deputy principal, and all. They have never complained, but Mao is one of the biggest communities in this country, and they have been operating from a community center for all those years. We need to bring an end to that and to build a new school for the people of Mao. Come next September, I want to see that school, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. Sports. They said the basketball court in Massac would never actually come, and it did come. They said it was an election gimmick. But look at it, Mr. Speaker. It looks spectacular. And already, I have put in place a dream team. And the captain will be the Prime Minister. I will not be playing. A dream team to play the first basketball match in that facility in Mastac, Mr. Speaker. And the window is going to be glass, but shatterproof. You know, now we have glass. Wonderful facility. Wait to see the color, Mr. Speaker, and come and say that. So I want to say thank you to the Prime Minister and the Minister for Sports, and before the Minister for Justin Charles, and you're listening, thank you very much, and Kelvin Darrow, that we're going to have the first indoor sports facility to standardize the manner in which basketball is being played. But I want all the games there. But I can never forget I was not feeling well once. And I think they had something at one the building was in its old state. And I had to speak. It was netball, so I was kind of iffy to come. I was not feeling well. When I got there, that was the biggest crowd I saw. And this crowd was dominated by men. So I want netball also to be played in that facility. So shall be basketball and netball to be played, and volleyball to be played as well. And Mr. Speaker, that is what the Labour Party is all about. Now, we are going to be working. We have done some work at the Roger basketball court, and they have made a request for some more help, and we shall be providing that help to that group in Roger. And the basketball court is being used as we speak. And I want to really commend Mr. Proctor and the guys who have been there and taking care of the facility. But of course, we'll be actually providing more assistance for the young guys of that part of the constituency, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we look at the sports center. The sports center provides tremendous prospects for not only sports in the Mao, but in the entire country. And we're thinking in terms of maybe having a proper...
10 more minutes.
Yeah, that's enough time. We are thinking, no, I'm all right. We are speaking in terms of having a proper swimming pool and to have a proper sporting facility, indoor and outdoor, in that location. And it's Mao is the place to be. Mao really. There's no other place in Dominica. Okay, you can talk about. Mr. Speaker, we will be providing assistance again for school children in terms of uniform, school books, and we have 300 high school students in the entire constituency. 54 in Mastac, 104 in Mao, 20 in Campbell, and the list goes on. That's all. I want a laptop for each of my high school students, Mr. Speaker, in this new school year. I want it because I have been told by many, well, Mr. Blackmore, you're a greedy parrot. But you have to be greedy as a parrot. You have to be greedy. If you're not greedy, it doesn't make sense being a parrot. So why don't say the member for Roseau Central greedy, or Roseau South, or anybody. We have to be greedy, Mr. Speaker. So I want a laptop for each of my high school students starting tomorrow, Mr. Speaker, I start to call it. And then, Mr. Speaker, we have the most students being supported overseas studying. And in the middle of a pandemic, you are still providing assistance for the students. But the leader of the opposition said, the budget is not for Dominican. Can you imagine that? And I want to say, I want to really highly commend the top student in the National Assessment Examination, Ms. Birmingham of Maho. Maho! Oh, man. Number one. So, I made reference about laptop for 300 high school students, but I want an apple for her. Apple. Yes. Yes. So, I want to also congratulate all the other persons, young people who wrote their exams, because every single one of them did well. And they're national heroes, Mr. Speaker, to have braved the elements and to go in and do so well speaks of our resilience as a people of this wonderful country, Mr. Speaker. And I want to commend the Minister for Education and all the staff, members of the Ministry for Education, for doing well so far in managing that situation in the middle of a COVID pandemic, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when we moved the health center to the current health center is in the lower Backstreet area. We're going to use that facility